Hello, wisdomers. I hope you are having the fantastic of days. I just wanted to have a conversation with you as I am on my way home from my lunch break. Um, Doing here for me, it's being able to give back, even during the little times I have for my lunch breaks. And then doing some creative stuff. When I say creative stuff, I mean, I really wanted today, I'll get to the topic, but I really wanted to do boba, but I also wanted like a certain coffee brand. So what I did was I bought a cup of boba, and then I bought the coffee, and then I blended it together, and I'm very, very happy about it for the fact that the boba place does not serve that type of coffee, and the coffee place does not have boba. So marrying the two together. How does project management show up in all areas of life? Right now, in addition to all of that, when I decided to go to the coffee place, I decided to ask them a few questions. The reason why I was asking them these questions is since I work in the IT field and I do help out recruiting specifically, I would like to know how end users readily receive information, and if we give them more options, would they be very happy with that or would they be upset with it? And they stated they would like to have all the options so they can really customize it towards them. The reason I did that is in the meeting that I had, there was no one that was an end user being able to even have a voice. And when I am configuring the system to work for the end user, I kind of need to make sure that I know what the end user wants. I know what they dislike. I know what their challenging points are, so that whatever improvements are being made into the system, I know is really for them. Okay. If I go into a dead spot, my sincere apologies. Like I said, I am currently driving. And that's personally how I use project management today. In addition to project management, there's also a way to keep yourself organized. There's smart sheets, there's Monday, there's an Excel sheet, and using your personal calendar. It's really whatever it looks like, but I've used project management in my marriage. And what's project management? Project management is when you take the project from the ideation phase, so the idea, all the way out to the go live, or when it's actually going to be in wherever, I guess, in your reality, if you will. Um, and so there's the idea phase. After the ideas, you gather the requirements for what that idea is, see what it's going to take, see how much money it's going to take to do this as well, see how much people it's going to need for this to be brought into fruition. In your spiritual life, this is in regards to you talking to yourself and what are those self words that you are using to be able to gather the requirements. Are you taking out those old thoughts by forgiving them and moving on and integrating them? Or are you denying it, kind of thing? And after you gather requirements, then you go and you start doing the configurations. So in this case, for spirituality, this would be in regards to you actually doing the action. So you have the faith and you have the idea. You start praying on that and start removing the things that don't allow you to focus on your new reality. Okay. And then now you're at this point where you are now doing the action, even if it's a little bit, to get comfortable doing it or believing that you already have it. After the, like I said, the ideation phase, the gathering the requirements phase, as well as you starting to do the action, then it has to go into testing to make sure that this thing, whatever it is truly what it is meant to be. So you can see that in your life in regards to you feel like you're going through trials and tribulations, okay? And when that is occurring, specifically, um, you also, for systems wise, you'll be also looking at the system. You'll be testing that system, seeing if the system is going to break with all the new upgrades that you added to it or not. It just really all depends. The next thing after you go into do testing, you generally demo this in front of the third party that asked for the idea to become about, or in the senior leadership. That's what you do in regards to if you're working for a company. If it's in regards to your spiritual life, when it comes to this stage of the demoing, it's you trying it out, trying whatever that idea is out, and seeing, is this really for me? Then asking the questions of, did I like this experience? If I didn't, then I have to start focusing a little bit differently. And it's a if then. If I do this, then this kind of thing. And when you are in this particular phase, is this is where you get to really hone in. And these are where the mistakes that you are looking at as, oh, I failed. You didn't fail. You learned the ways it didn't work. And you will find the ways that it does work at a later eventuality. Either way is perfectly going to be okay. And it's your own process. When you're working with a team, it's okay if there's a little bit of ooze, because it happens. I will say for me, I got to the phase where I did the configurations, they tested it, and then things weren't working appropriately. So now I have to go back in and I have to do some more configurations to see what exactly happened. I got to take it for what it is, which is it didn't work all the way, which is okay, and see it and examine it and then redo it. And there's nothing wrong with having to redo it. I never failed for the fact that I never gave up. You only fail when you give up. Failure is known as the first attempt in learning. And it's okay to have an attempt because you can have multiple attempts at anything. And that's going to be a-okay. So after you do the demo, then you go into the communication, building communication around this change, building the job aids or the teaching aids or the learning, whichever word or vernacular or industry you want to use it for. You have to build the communication out for this in regards to building it out for the other people that weren't aware that this was an idea or anything like that, that are now going to interact with this new operating system, however it is, even that is including you. So my thing is that if that might mean you having to talk about your boundaries with someone else because of the fact that you figured out what works for you, and it might have been for you not to surround yourself with certain type of conversations, and then now that you've demoed it out and you saw what it was like to not have to do it, now you get this opportunity to say, okay, now I'm going to build some boundaries around this area. I got to actually now communicate these boundaries so people don't have to guess what's on my mind. They will kind of know for the fact that I've actually opened my mouth to tell them these are my boundaries. And then you have to hold to whatever the boundaries are. If you should change the boundaries, that's okay. That's perfectly fine. You're an ever changing being, like systems are ever changing systems. The next thing in regards to project management, after you, like I said, you gather a requirement. Oh no, you get the idea. You gather the requirements. You configure the system. After you do that, then you move, like I said, you move into testing it, then you go into demoing it. And after you get all these communications, now you go live, okay? Or now you're there and you have communicated everything out and you're living that current reality, whatever it may be. But this thing in regards to project management shows up in all areas of life. I literally just took you through how you can take a look at it, looking at it from a point of spirituality. Project management is in everything. The laws of the universe, the 12 laws of the universe, is in everything with the polarity, the law of attraction. And I will let you know this now. I wrote this today for my morning. We don't chase happiness. We don't chase happiness. We only attract. We are magnets. Okay? So I attract happiness. I don't chase after it because happiness is already within me. I just have to rest in being in that. How does project management show up in my marriage? It's the exact same principle. We both get an idea in regards to how things can better go on between us. We will then gather requirements depending on what that looks like. If it's a house project, then we'll gather the requirements for the house project. We will set a time. We'll figure out how much money we're wanting to expend from our finances. And then we get to work doing that thing. And we test it out. And after we test it out, we're like, okay, this right? So we go and we go back to the drawing board and we test something out again. And now we're in that demo phase of seeing if this is really it. And if it is, okay, now what is the communication that we're going to do around this kind of thing? Okay, well, whatever that looks like, there's generally not have to do with boundaries when it comes to that because we already are respecting each other's boundaries. But the next thing after that would be going live with it. And for me, that just means the manifestation is already here. That's simply what it means for me. When you think about, even if you're going to decide to do this in regards to dating, you need to date yourself first to see even how you want to even be taken out on dates. Take yourself out for the luxuries. You don't need to hang out with all those friends spending all that money. You first need to figure out who the fuck you are. And the nicest way I can say that, you really need to figure out you before you start hanging out with all these different people trying to figure out the relationships outside of you, wondering what the hell is wrong with you, and there's nothing wrong with you. You're surrounding yourself with people that are not really like you, and you thought that they were. Okay? So that's first things first. Figure yourself out first before you even start this dating thing. After you figure yourself out, now you can come into the relationship with the boundaries that you know that you have to set for yourself for you to feel the optimally best that you can be. And whatever that is, and whatever your best looks like for you. That's the beautiful thing about individuality and uniqueness. It's all dependent upon you, based off what you want. But you can't get to what you want if you never take the time to figure that out. And you can't always figure that out in friend environments. You generally have to figure that out by yourself. When I say generally, I mean you have to figure it out by yourself. Because it's your life and you're going to be with yourself your entire life. So figure yourself out first, and then go out and start talking to other people. It's project management all over again. Oh, I want to marry. Da, 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 da. Well, are you those qualities that you're asking for of the other person? If you're not, then stop asking for it or get up to that level. And the nicest way I can say that. And the reason I say that is the person that you want generally does not want the qualities that you currently are if you're not already at that level. You attract, and I'm going to say this again, you attract. Okay, if you know you attract, then make sure that the best of you is showing to the best outside so that only the best can come even in your line of sight. Okay, and you're not dealing with people that are also broken because you feel like you're broken. And no, I don't like using the word broken or anything like that, but I will say compartmentalized. That for me sounds a lot better because you're a puzzle piece, and sometimes you just want to focus on one area and not all areas. And how do I know that? Because I have done this before. I'm not saying all people are like this, but from my research of people watching, because I like people watching, this has how it has been. I've helped over tens of thousands of people in regards to achieving their dreams, and it's just because I want to, not because I was paid to do it. It was because I love people so much that if they can lean on me even for a second, if they want to ask me even a question, I don't mind taking the time to help them out. And a lot of people have achieved their dream based off conversations that we've had because they realize it's with self-love out of everything else comes to be. Through taking care of yourself for yourself, then you don't have to be dependent on somebody else. And when you guys are together, you are interdependent, which means that you guys are both independent, but you're choosing to be independent together, kind of thing. I will say this: you might have moments when the dependency does go higher than it normally is, and there's nothing wrong with that. When you get sick, you go down, and it is what it is. And if your partner could be there for you, dope. If your friend could be there for you, dope. But just make sure that you are taking care of you in the best way that you can, and you have protocols in place when shit hits the fan. What are your protocols? Do you have a first aid kit on you? Do you have one in your car? Do you have an air pump? Do you have a jump start cables? Do you have a generator with jump start cables? What do you have if something should happen with your car? Do you even have this ready? Probably not. Probably not. Majority of people that I actually talk to, unless there are guys, don't have this ready for them. Or they don't have a service for the service to come and help them with this kind of stuff. Have a contingency in place when some stuff decides it's going to go down. because we live in this reality that we create, and things go down on the constant basis. Whether it's a good thing that you choose to label as good, or it's a bad thing, which, mind you, that's what you choose to label that experience. Or you can just experience. It all is depending upon you. When it comes to, that was for driving, right? And also for driving is do you have a charger? Do you have extra water in the car? And when I say extra water, if you live in a hot place, please don't be putting your water into the car and leaving it. Especially, just don't do it. The plastic will then start seeping into your water, and then you're drinking particles of plastic in your water, and that's not really good for your body. So if you didn't know that, now you know that. And also, when it comes to your car, are you routinely getting maintenance done to your car with a trusted mechanic, whatever that looks like? For me, I personally am very particular when it comes to my mechanic, and that's because not all mechanics are equal, and not all mechanics are trustworthy. But when you find one, stick with them as long as you can, and as for as long as they're doing that service. I will say, for me, when it comes to car and car maintenance, I was always on top of my cars, making sure. And I decided one time to take my car to someone that wasn't my normal mechanic because something major happened to it. I did that a couple of times, and my car completely went out. And that car was in our family for, I think, 23 years. And it was good operational, but I allowed someone else's hands to touch that vehicle. And they touched the vehicle in a way that that vehicle did not like either, and I had to sell that car because it was more problems than it should have been, and I was keeping regular maintenance on the belts, the water pump, the radiator, the accelerator. My tune-ups were being done on the regular. Everything was being looked at on the regular with my main mechanic. And when I decided to go outside of that, that's when I started losing some stuff. And then I realized that if anyone should touch my vehicles moving forward, if it's not for just an oil change or a tire change, which I don't mind going to other shops for that. I particularly like Walmart. I really do, because they also have warranty. I also like Discount Tire because they'll have a warranty, and I like warranties, especially when some stuff happens like nails that you really can't account for because they can be everywhere or nowhere at the exact same time. Um, but being able to figure this out for myself was a phenomenal thing. And when I said tire pressure, my tire pressure on my car just said, you know what, I want to get checked now. So I'm going to go get it checked, because the thing is that one thing I don't do is just let the check engine light just sit, or that light just sit on, kind of thing. And I know that the weather in my state, physically in the city that I am in, fluctuates on a constant basis. So that means that my tires are expanding and contracting on a constant basis. And when it's doing that, mind you, it's losing air during that time. Even though the caps are on there, this is just what tires do. This is how rubber interacts with the environment. It is what it is, and that's okay. Um, but yeah, it's getting back to the car situation. When you are, like I said, picking a place and finding that trusted place for when it comes to actual engine maintenance, and I'm not anywhere near my mechanic because my mechanic kind of lives in a different state. It is what it is. But if I can't get my car to him, I will go to the dealership. And if it's not life threatening, I will have him do it after I get it towed out there, because I have eventuality set up for that. I got AAA for that, to make sure that, and if something should happen, I have this and I don't have to expend buttloads of money when I don't need to. Because you don't have to unless you choose to. You really don't. And these are just things that I've done. This is how I project manage my life. Is I make sure that I have contingency. Like, even for my house, I have contingencies on that. I have home security in multiple in multiple spaces. I'm just gonna say that, in multiple ways, in regards to regular house insurance and regular home security, and multiple different facets. Like, it checks for to see if there's going to be a water leak. There's a sensor for that. There's a sensor for CO emissions, and if that's really happening in my house. There's a sensor for all these different things, so that I don't have to always be aware of these things, and I have something also assisting me to do that. And I also made sure that my home is protected for the fact that I have not the easiest Wi-Fi password, and that's so it's not easily hackable by people outside of my house. In addition to that, I also use a VPN. Don't have to use a VPN while I'm at home technically, but sometimes I like spoofing my location. It is what it is. It's the IT in me, and I like doing that whole spy of. I think she's in London. I think she's in Germany. What? She's in the United States because I have a VPN and I get to go everywhere. Even though I don't get to physically go everywhere, my signal gets to go everywhere, and it's having the time of its life. Um, but in regards to home, you have to have some contingencies for that. And another contingency I have is in regards to my devices. And what I mean by that is if anything should happen to any of my home devices, like my TV, a gaming system, because me and my husband have gaming systems and stuff like that, because he streams and stuff like that. And then I have musical equipment and a whole, like protection at my house kind of thing. I have an insurance that should cover if any of that should be in the breaksies. And if they cannot repair it, they will give me the money so I can replace it. But I pay for that so I don't have to pay all this money that we've already expended, and also not having to pay individualized plans for each thing. Because mind you, depending on what kind of insurance you get, depending on where you get it at, if you live in the United States, there's Best Buy, there's Square Trade, there's what's it called? Asurion is another one. But these are different things that you can get for contingencies if something should hit the fan when it comes to your electronics. But what I found is that with some of these places, it gets pretty pricey and it only covers them for a short period of time. You can choose 1 year, you can choose 2 years, you can choose 3 years. And what I found is that there is this one that is just a constant coverage as long as you're paying it. And I'm like, well, that's worth it. So I added to my cell phone bill, and that was the Asurion. And that's for me to be able to cover all my home devices. Mind you, yes, I do have device insurance on my devices as well. And that's a totally different insurance. But I do that because of the fact that these phones nowadays ain't cheap, like at all, at all. These phones go from $500 to $1,000, and some are like, well, you know what? I think I want to be 2,000. I'm like, why? What's the point of a 2,000? What does that $2,000 phone do? It doesn't have a hologram. I have questions, okay? And because these are really big investments, especially if you're doing this for your business and you're doing this for your personal phone, you have to make sure you secure and you protect your investments just as much as you protect yourself, because it's a protection of mine too. For if something should happen to that device, now you're covered. And you don't have to pay that thousands of dollars again. You just have to pay the deductible, whatever that is. Even if the deductible is $0. That is a fantastic deductible where you don't have to pay nothing. But sometimes you do have to actually pay it, and sometimes it's 100, sometimes 500, depending on what kind of insurance plan that you got. But you have these insurances to make sure that you are legit. Even for your life, you have life insurance. So if you actually have people that depend on you, if you're a parent, or if you are, let's say a daughter or a son taking care of your parent, or any other way kind of thing, or you have a spouse or a significant other of some sort that's not technically legal bonding of you two, then I would recommend that you get life insurance so that if anything should happen to you, that you are covered and they are covered, realizing that you are no longer going to be here and they are still going to be financially okay. But I will say this, if you decide to get life insurance, I also recommend that both people are learning how financial literacy, so that when that money does come and if that happens and all that fun stuff, they will know how to properly manage that money instead of them actually not knowing what to go on, talking to not qualified people about their money and making, they will say later, mistakes, or they will have regrets in regards to how they spent that money. Okay, that's a twofold one, but that's just protecting your assets. And that is a thing in regards to, like I said, project management, because you have to have some contingencies sometimes, because sometimes in the system, you can't always do everything that they're asking for. So you have to figure out creative ways in regards to get it as close as possible to it. So you got to figure out contingencies for everything. And there's nothing wrong with that. When it comes to, let's see, how do we take this for social life? Same thing. Social, friends, or anything like that. You still look at it. You guys have an idea. Then you guys need to gather the requirements. What does it take? Do you guys have the name of the place? If you guys are doing an event, do you have the name of the event? If you're doing it on Facebook, do you guys have the poster, the banner? How are you guys sharing the invites? What does the promotion look like? Gathering the requirements. Like, what are the requirements? And you gather those up, you figure out what the cost is, you make the page or however way people are going to sign up for this thing, even if it's just by them clicking a link to RSVP. There's a lot of services that are like that. A lot of services that are like that. Besides Facebook, you can use Eventbrite. There's another one called, I think, Evite or something like that too. Like, there's different ways for you to be able to get the list. These are for social things, mind you. Um, and after you gather the requirements, you go ahead and then generally it's like you can figure it together. So you place everything together and stuff like that. It looks good. Then you can test it out to make sure it actually works. And if someone should ask you a question, because this always happens to me, they ask you a question and then you can either know the answer because you already tested it for yourself to make sure that it was working for you, or you can fumble and get mad at that person for, how dare you ask me that question. No, there should have been some testing involved before you decide to launch this out to everybody. So you can know for yourself, so you'll be fine, kind of thing. Um, so test it out, whatever it is, before you completely publish it. And if you use Eventbrite, they allow you to see what the emails even look like before you decide to publish the event. You want to make sure that the fields that they say will be pulling in that are dynamic. Let me explain that. Dynamic means variable. Variable means this. So a variable field would be like, if we're talking, your phone number is a variable field because the phone number is always going to be different. The name's always going to be different. But that can be a field that can be added that is always ever changing, but the system is coding it for you. You are not having to code it for the system. And that makes things a lot easier, I tell you. It really does. But test it out. Figure out what really works. Figure out what doesn't really work. And then after you're done with that, if you are working with someone else, show it to them, see how it goes. And if you guys both like it, go ahead with your bad selves. Make sure the communications are good with the email templates and everything. And I will then say publish it. Go live with it. And that's just for our social situation. But if any of these steps are missed, you might fill the gap. You might actually feel it where you're like, this isn't for right. Just rethink the process. Remember, project management, ideation, gathering requirements, configuring, testing, demoing, and then communication and going live. That are the steps. And then I will also say you also need to figure out timeline. Timeline is also about all of this. For me and my marriage, me and my husband came together and we have marriage objectives. You're like, what? I'm like, yes. When we, I'm a business-minded person, okay? I'm just gonna say that. But in a marriage is a legal thing in the eyes of the law, and your taxes change. Your name can change. A lot of things can change. So because of that, I was like, we need a mission statement. Why are we together? What is who benefits from our union? And we decided that we wanted to figure out ways that we can spread love and light to different parts of the community. And that's what our mission was. And we have been working towards that by first working on ourselves, working on our foundation together. And now we're at a point where we are ready and we are willing and we are excited to help community, because we first had to get right with ourselves and then with each other before we try to go out to the world, because the world has a lot of things that are very hosh posh, very unique, very, I'll also say, divisive, if it, in the nicest word that I can say that. But project management applies to everything. I am willing to take guests if you guys are willing to come up. I will let you know that my last talk, I had it for an hour. So I just ask that you not stay the entire hour, maybe 10, 15 minutes, however long you have in that time period. If you want to come up to talk to me how you personally have used project management in your life. And if you didn't even know you use project management, I would love to hear about that too, or how you will apply this. Because the thing is that if you can recognize the things that you're doing and give yourself that applause for the bad mamma jammas and bad sirs that you are, it will help you with your self-esteem. It really will. Because you'll realize, oh no, I did get this. I do get this. This is just another way of looking at this. I already do this. This is phenomenal, kind of thing. Um, let's see here. So I'm gonna apply this to, let's try this one. Okay, ready for it? I'm going to try to do crypto. When I say try, it's honestly a try, because the crypto I'm talking about is a little bit more the advanced side. This is after you get your setup. This is after the wallets. This is after a lot of other stuff. And okay, I'm back. I got to the tire place because, like I said, I wanted to make sure the tires were good. Um, so back to project management. How does it show up in all areas of your life? It even shows up when you're going to see doctors. Okay, you have an idea of what's going on with you. You might have consulted the web to the MD, or you might have consulted Mrs. Google or Mr. Google, whichever you like to use, the Googlator, to get an idea of what's going on with you. You go into the doctor, and mind you, you've already gathered the requirements of it's happening because of this, this, and this. I think. Could be wrong, but it's what I think. And you talk with him, and the thing is that they will then help you with the configuration of you getting better. Whether that means telling you, hey, you need a little bit more like vegetables in your diet, or hey, we need a test to do some blood work to triple check some things, but we're going to give you this antibiotic for right now because it covers everything. And after that, you guys will assess it. You'll demo it. You'll try that, whatever that medication or whatever that recommendation is. And you will have to fine tune it, and fine tune it to the best of its abilities. And after that, oh, perfect. Thank the Lord. Um, and I'm back. God love it. Here we go. The drives with Charenté. You never know what might happen. But like I said, we're talking about how does project management show up, and we're talking about the doctor's office. So there's also when it comes to the doctor that you are seeing. Okay, you get to gather your requirements, you get to go, and you also get to reconfigure. When I say reconfigure, you get to choose who you are working with in regards to your body. If the person just wants to tell you what to do, and you recommend, hey, based off this and based off this experience, this does not really suit my body, and that person does not want to take the time to hear you out. It is time to do the best thing that you can do. And this is where, I don't know, and this is where one of these phrases come up of, you're fired, kind of thing. But you don't have to say it. You just don't go back to them, because when you go back to them, you are paying them. Even if your insurance is paying it, you're paying them to treat you like crap. Why are you paying someone to treat you like crap, and where your opinion does not matter about your body? That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't make any sense. And if it doesn't feel right, you go find someone else, but you have to go to someone else. Even if it's you going within yourself. I'm not saying for you not to see medical intervention, because sometimes it really is needed. Okay? But find people that actually work with you. And the thing is that even if it's in the hospital, I have had cases where some of the doctors didn't want to work with me. They weren't very nice to me. And I'm a snitch, okay? I told my other doctor, she's very, very feared. They called her the little leprechaun with her fiery red hair. Let's just say I never had to worry about that ever again, okay? Because I don't put up with it. And she doesn't put up with it either. Because she realizes that humans are people. And when you're a patient, you have to be patient, okay? Patient. And a doctor is doing the best that they can with the information that's been given, with the chart, with what you have said, to come together to give you the best action plan. And I remember my mom used to tell me this, and I thought it was very weird at first, but I understood it after. And it was, she told the doctors to treat her like a dog, because at least when you go to the veterinarian, they're going to give a diet style change. They're going to test it. They're going to give the proper medication for it after the test, and not just right about before. If it's something that's super severe, yes, they'll give them the emergency. But that's what she said, and I was like, I didn't make sense at first until she explained it to me, and I'm like, no, now that makes sense. And it's kind of weird that dogs are treated better than humans when it comes to their health. It doesn't make any sense. And I say better because they also are looking at it from a nutritional standpoint. Generally speaking, depending on what doctors you go to, if you go to a primary care doctor, so as a general medicine doctor, they're not sometimes looking at your nutrition. You may find some, keep them. Keep them. But some of them don't realize it. I remember telling one doctor, hey, this medication, it was vitamin A retinol, because they wanted to dry out my skin and stuff like that, so that, because I had hidradenitis suppurativa at the time, which is, you can think of it as acne inversus, so acne inside the body coming out, kind of thing, in multiple tentacles, okay? So they're like, you know what? We want her to take retinol. And I was like, okay, no big deal. One of the first things it says is you cannot be pregnant. So I had to make sure, take a pregnancy test. I had to get a couple of contraceptives to ensure that while I was taking this medication, I would not become pregnant. Because if I did, then the baby would have birth defects. So I made sure to do that safeguard. Started taking it. And one of the symptoms was you might have suicidal ideation. Okay, I didn't know that was going to happen to me. I'm going to say that on the honest thing. So I get suicidal and all that fun stuff. I realize it's probably the environment plus the fact that I am taking this medication and I'm having a lot going on in my life right now. So I need to back off. So I stopped cold turkey because he told me, my dermatologist was like, if something should happen, you stop immediately and then you call. And so that's what I did. And he's happy. He said, I'm so happy that you were able to have someone to support you and that you didn't do anything to yourself or whatever. And I was like, thank you so much. That was very nice of him to even say. Um, but after that, I went to the optometrist, so my eye doctor, and they're like, Charenté, your eyes are not like, your eyes normally are like astigmatism, like, and they're like, you normally it's like a football, but your football is also having a football not just on the sides, but now on the long way, so where your eyes generally sit, like, so your pupil, that was also coning on the back end too. So it was like, I think of it like a star, if that makes sense, in my eye. And they sent me to a doctor that specializes in, I think it was cornucopia, or it's something like that. And pretty much what it means is to really have surgery in order to fix the eye, to make sure it stays as round as possible and it's not doing anything extra. Their first line of attack was to do dry eye treatments. and to put some plugs in my eye ducts so that the moisture stayed in my eyes and my eyes wouldn't be so dry. When I found this out, I was like, self, self said, right back to me. And I'm like, this doesn't make sense. I was fine before this. This doesn't make sense. And I was like, oh, snap. Vitamin A. One of the main purposes of that was to dry me out. They didn't say it's going to dry out your eyes too. And when I brought that up to my dermatologist, he's like, Charenté, you crazy? And I'm like, I don't think I'm crazy. And when I told this to the eye doctor, they thought I was crazy too. I was like, I don't think I'm crazy. So you know what I did before I was due to have that? It wasn't a cheap surgery, an expensive surgery that would have took me really about 2 months to really heal from, because I have to do one eye at a time. Okay. I decided to go get a second opinion. And when I went to go get a second opinion, they said, who lied to you? You don't have that. Your eyes are just fine. And I was like, you sure? Are you positive? And because I'm like, am I about to have this surgery or am I not? Like, I really need to know. They're like, no, you don't even have it. And I was like, so I was right. Oh, doctors don't know everything. That's okay. I'm going to still go to them, because they still, like I said, have more knowledge than me in regards to a lot of medical stuff. So I'm not going to just shun them away. But it was nice to know that, no, I had the right frame of thinking when I was thinking about something's not right. I know my body, and I know it wouldn't just do this. So it doesn't make sense. It also, that stuff affected my womanhood. Okay, it dried me out. It messed with my periods too. I had to start taking supplements to help me with my womanly wiles and my hormones. And it wasn't the progesterone, estrogen, because my body could not take that stuff straight. My body would freak the heck out at that time. And it will cause the hidradenitis to kick up into rapid gear, where morphine and Percocet were the things I had to take in order to be able to walk into work and sit down at my desk. Not for me to be active, just for me to live regular life for myself. So after that, I was like, you know what? There's something to this project management thing. There's something to this. There's something to this. Like, there really is. Because ideation, gathering requirements, configuring, testing, demoing, communication, and then go live. It's in everything that you do. And if you can map it out just a little bit, you'll be golden. But don't focus on the go live part. Focus on the parts at the time that it's meant for each part. Don't go too fast, and there's no such thing as going too slow. Okay? You become better each moment you decide to choose the better for yourself. And I will say this, if no one has told you today, I love you so much, just as you are. You are perfect, just as you are. You are light. You are love. You are hope. You are peace. You are smart. You are brave. You are strong. And I sincerely love you. And you are kind. I'm not going to forget that kind one. Because, mind you, we're not nice. Nice means of the etymology, so the origin of that word means stupid. And we are not stupid or arrogant. So you are kind, okay? That's the reason why I have to make sure that delineation's there. I don't like the word nice anymore, for the fact that now I actually know what the original meaning is. And you're not nice, I'm not nice. We are smart and we are kind. And I just got back home and I have to now go into a meeting. I hope you have the fantastic, most beautiful day wherever you are, even if you're just starting the day, because this app is universal. Yes, it is. And bye-bye for now. Do, do.